6:02, I'll ask you to stand and join us in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shirley, will you call the roll, please?
Wall. Here. Walker.
Here.
Sticky.
Here.
Bruce.
Here.
Kaczynski.
Here. Okay, on the meeting agenda for tonight, we have under Department and Committee reports, item A, Operation Services Monthly Report, which is in your packet, as is the sewer report from the city. Item B. C, Board of Review is not met. Item D, Downtown Development Authority, you have the Director's Report in the minutes in your packet. Item E, Develop Filer Ad Hoc Committee has not met. Item F, the Planning Commission, you have the minutes in your packet. Item G, the Zoning Board of Appeals has not met. H, Building and Grounds Committee, those minutes are also in your packet. Item A, the zoning administrator's notes are in your packet. Item J, the Elections Commission has not met. K, the Personnel Committee has not met. Item L, Fire Department, we did not get a report from Jim, so there's nothing in your packet and nothing on PEG.
Well, actually, I think I was supposed to get you that. I'll get it to everybody.
Okay. Under new business, we have item A, consideration of approval of the presented resolution adopting the Manistee Countywide Rec Plan. Item B is consideration of approval to grant request for approval to place a memorial bench in Magoon Creek Park in honor of Jessica Sharp. Item C is discussion of the American Rescue Plan Act funding. If there are no additions or deletions to the meeting agenda for tonight, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Stege, second by Brian Cruz to approve the meeting agenda for tonight. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Under the consent agenda for tonight, we have item A, the minutes of the special board meeting from October 26th, 2021. B is the financial reports. Item C, approval of the Township General Fund expenditures, including the fire department. Those are checks numbered 39012 through 39084, with accounts payable totaling $39,368.22, and payroll totals $14,294.84 for a grand total of $53,663.06. Item D is approval of water department expenditures. Those checks are number 2905 through 2916 and total $19,822.96. Item E is approval of the sewer department expenditures. Checks numbered 1143 through 1146, totaling $12,363.07. Item F is approval of the monthly ACH payments to the state of Michigan and IRS in the amount of $3,907.98. Item G is approval of a newspaper ad for filling committee vacancies. And tonight, under presentations, we have Mike Ziccola here with the County Planning Department. He is the Planning Director. Under communications and announcements, item A, you have a letter in your packet regarding Connecting Manistee County Committee. And item B is a letter of support for Northwest Michigan Invasive Species Network grant program. Any additions, deletions to the consent agenda for tonight? If not, we need a motion for approval.
I will second.
Motion by Brian Cruz, second by Stege to approve the consent agenda for tonight. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. With that, Mike, you're up.
All right, good evening, everyone. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Mike Scola. I'm the planning director. I took over for Rob Carson when he left for Networks Northwest. I sent out to you guys a packet here. It was actually from a story map from Housing North. I believe that Yarrow Brown has come and spoke to you guys before. And what has been in development within the county is a housing position. And what that entails is, well, that hasn't been developed yet, and that's kind of why I'm here. So the county and the city and a couple of other entities put towards some money for a position with Housing North for housing and to look at housing positions, or a housing position within the county that would look to address issues of housing within the county as a whole. And one thing when we started meeting for this position to lay it out and say, hey, these are the issues that we want to address, is, as you know, one of the things I said was, hey, not all the players are here. One of the things is we didn't have any representation from Filer Township. I said, hey, why don't we approach these townships, individually or as a whole, and ask them if they'd be willing to put somebody on what's called our housing action team. And what that would be is a group of people that are interested in housing that would help develop what would be the description for the job for the place, for the person that's going to come into the county and do the housing position for the county. That's what really I'm here to do, is ask you guys to appoint somebody to fill this position. I think you guys are aware there is a housing need. I know some programs that you guys have looked to address some of the housing issues within Filer Township as itself. But really, a lot of the feedback that we're looking to get from you and your appointed person is, if this housing person is to come into the county, what are some issues that Filer would like to see addressed? Is that grant writing? Is that putting together a vehicle options packet to put to potential developers, saying, hey, these are the financing options we have? That's all on the table. We really don't have any kind of job description. We're bringing and inviting you guys to join us in on this housing action team at the very beginning. We have our next meeting on the 15th. I'm going to try to make myself around to like Manistee Township as well as others and just start inviting the townships to take part. This is not a governmental entity. It is made up of some governmental people, but it is stakeholders in housing. So that's really what we're looking to do, and kind of have a collaboration with the local entities. As far as funding for this position, we're about 80% there. We are not looking to ask at this time for you guys to do anything financially. We're actually exploring other avenues to fill the financial needs for this position. What we're strictly looking for from you guys at this time is to come into the conversation, provide your feedback, and say some areas that you would like to see addressed. And just take part in the housing conversation that's taking place in the county, and invite you to join and take part in that. With that, is there any questions?
Mike, how often do you figure this body will be meeting?
Initially, we figure that when we start developing this job description, they're going to probably meet monthly, and maybe even bi-monthly. We haven't really just set that up yet. Really, the hat was developed maybe a month ago, where we said, hey, we need to have a core group of people come together that are going to represent housing in our area. And with that, we were like, is it monthly immediately? Probably, because we're going to need to come back and put everybody's ideas and until that job description's set. There might be an executive committee. We really don't know what that's going to look like yet. We just want to make sure that we have the right people at the table before we start having those counties when it's supposed to be a county-wide position. So once that job description is actually filled, you're seeing, like I put in your packet, I think Emmett counties, or it might be Leland Oz, position in here where they have like the little Traverse Bay housing partnership you might see on this page, and you can see the partners in there. That's what we're looking to form, and then you can kind of see what they've been able to do and what their goals are. That's kind of what we're looking to develop. Once that happens, they meet quarterly. So, they kind of step back a little bit more once all this is established. So it would be monthly probably initially, and then if not more often than that, but I don't think any more than twice a month. And then it would go to quarterly afterwards, more than likely.
Okay, anything else that you want?
No, I mean, I think it would be great if we could have a township board member or even a planning commission member represent you guys, or just somebody in the area that's going to report back to you and tell you what's going on with it. I know that there's other committees that are sometimes formed out there. Manistee Ford comes to mind, where, we would like to see representation from around the area and not just certain entities, to include Filer. And as a resident, I would like to see more collaborative efforts with Filer. And I think that's why I personally came here instead of coming to an MTA meeting. I do plan on going to an MTA and putting this out to the other townships, but I really think it's important to you to get you guys involved, as well as Manistee Township, because when we talk about the ability to have higher density housing projects, you guys, besides the city, are the only ones that can really sustain it, because you have sewer and water. And you're going to have a higher walkability score when you talk about workforce housing and such like that. So it's important to have you guys involved in this conversation earlier than later. The last thing I wanted to do is them to put together a job description and you guys have no input, and then suddenly a housing director position shows up on your doorstep and says, hey, hi, I'm the housing person, and I know you've never heard of me, but I represent the county. So it was important to us, as this is being built, that you guys are involved in that conversation. So.
And I don't know if I missed it. Do you have a projected date for the first meeting?
I believe it's November 15th. If you guys contact me or have the person contact me with whom you like that to be, I can put you on the email list, and you'll start getting updates as far as when we're meeting and what's going on with that. So.
Probably the only one that's going to be doing something November 15th.
What would that be?
Not your home.
Oh, I'm sorry. It might have been November 18th. I'm sorry. I didn't think about it. I was like, we would have never sent that for November 15th. But I will. I'll verify and get back to you, Terry, on it. But yeah, I know it's either the 18th or the 15th. I apologize. I didn't have that with me.
About our DDA director for the township represents township.
Well, that would only be a DDA area. He's looking for somebody more out there, township.
And we do have Tamra on the list of mailing list for us. So.
She's already on it.
Yeah, she's. I don't know if she's representing the DDA or she's representing herself. She is included on our mailing list. If she's primarily focused on the DDA, okay. We would like somebody broader to represent the township with the DDA, and then I know she's interested in just participating on her own as well. So I don't know how you guys want to handle it, but yeah, that's that was, we thought about that as well as maybe including her, but really formally asking you if that's the person you want to represent you, we felt was appropriate as well, instead of just assuming, or somebody saying, hey, I'm representing Filer. Well, are you representing the township? Are you representing the DDA? Have you been officially appointed? Those are all questions that we don't really want to ask in the meeting. We just want to secure, like, yes, I'm representing Filer Township's interests. I'll take anything back to them, as opposed to, maybe a subcontractor or something like that that might be representing the DDA, their own interests, or otherwise. So, and I'm not saying that Tamara's doing that. I'm just saying that I think it's important to come before you guys and ask you if it's Tamara, great, we'll move forward. But asking you if that's your person, then that's really what I'm here to do.
Well, the thing is, if she came back and gave her report, both Terry and I are on DDA, so we'd hear the report that we could bring back here to the board.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Willing to do it.
Good.
Because I'm on the planning commission, I'm here.
I was just going to say, you prefer somebody from the planning commission or the board, and we've got Shirley in both.
okay. Shirley, is it all right if I put you down on the list then? And then, okay. And I'll reach out to you with the date of our next meeting.
But our planning commission meets on the third Tuesday, so that would be a bad.
Third Tuesday? Okay. I think our meetings generally tend to be via Zoom currently. If that's an issue, let me know. Okay. And they're usually in the middle of the day. So as of recently, they have been at least. So if that works, I appreciate your time, and I'll take any other questions. And
We got to take care of it.
No other questions? Okay. Thank you, Shirley.
all right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Mike.
guys. Appreciate it.
I'll make the motion to appoint Shirley to
I'll
the
support that.
Okay, we have a motion
Housing
by
Solutions for Northwest Michigan.
Steggy, second by Hachinsky, to appoint Shirley to the membership of the Housing Solutions for Northwest Michigan Committee. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. All right, public comment. Nothing, Barry. Mike's had his comments, so we will move on to department and committee reports. You do have in your packet Operation Services report for September, and water usage and things have been completed and done the month of September. Item B, the sewer report from the city is in your packet, along with the wastewater pumped. Item D, you have the minutes in your packet as well as Tamara's report. Item F, Planning Commission minutes for the October 19th meeting are in your packet. And also the public hearing from the 19th. Item H, the building and grounds minutes are in your packet from October 18th. And there's your report. Item I is in your packet. Moving on to new business, item A, we have consideration of approval of the presented resolution adopting the Manistee Countywide Rec Plan. And I will make a motion that we approve that resolution that's in our packet for the adoption of the countywide 5-year rec plan. Okay, motion by Walker, second by Brian Cruz to approve the resolution adopting the Manistee County-wide rec plan. Any discussion? Okay, Shirley, you want to call the roll, please?
Cruz?
Yes.
Wall? Yes. Dave?
Yes.
Yes.
Me.
Jazinski?
Yes.
Okay, item B is consideration of approval to grant a request for approval to place a memorial bench in Magoon Creek Park in honor of Jessica Sharp. I did speak with Karen Bowerman, who was kind of heading this up. We are going to be meeting out at the park next week to identify a location. She has a location in mind, I guess, where Jessica liked to go and sit and take pictures of the lake and the bluff and that sort of thing. I think there's actually two pictures there that kind of depict the area, and it's south of an existing memorial bench, but I told her I wanted to meet with her to make sure that the location is going to work out okay. It's not going to conflict with anything, and it's a little bit hard to tell from the picture exactly because I'm not sure which memorial bench I'm looking at in those pictures, so she is going to meet me out there next week, and we'll take a look at that. They will be ordering a bench of composite material like the other memorial benches that are out there, and they are going to have the bench set in concrete. They are going to do a memorial plaque, but she said at this time they haven't decided whether to have it set in the concrete or attached to the bench. I know at least one of the memorial benches out there. Ed's, I know the plaque is set in the concrete. I don't remember about Smokies, and then there's another memorial bench at the very north end of the park, and I can't remember where that plaque is, but she has plans for a plaque as well, and that won't take place until spring, the actual placement of that, because of the weather issues that we'll be running into now, and she said they haven't picked out the actual bench yet. They have got catalogs that they've been looking at. She did attach one picture of a sample bench there, but it will be something, I'm sure, similar to the ones that are out there, and attractive, and composite materials that will endure the weather much better than the wood benches that we have. So, and interestingly enough, I also had a call a couple days ago about reserving the park for a wedding next June, I think, and then also wanting, asking about a memorial bench, not a memorial bench, but an honorary bench in honor of the woman's daughter who's getting married. And I don't know if she's going to do that or not. I told her that we right now have a request for another memorial bench, and we've got, I don't remember if we have two already out there or three of the memorial benches. I'll check that out when I'm out there next week, but I said we don't want the park to get cluttered with benches, obviously. We did have the wooden benches that were built as an Eagle Scout project and placed a few years back, and then the benches that have been there in the park. So we're probably getting close to the point where there's more than sufficient seating for visitors to the park. But I know
Plus you
I'm
had
out
somewhere
there.
like along one of the trails where if you wanted to sit,
Yeah,
that'd be different than all over by the,
yeah, that's a thought. It might be appreciated.
And there's Sunland Park too.
Yeah, and we talked about this gal with the wedding. We talked about Sunling Park, and we do have two benches there on the bluff, but those are wooden benches, and at some point we might look at memorial benches there. I do know when there have been times that I've been out there and I see people, couples sitting on the benches, just enjoying the view of the lake, or sitting on a bench reading a book, and so they do get quite a bit of use.
I support this.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Brian Cruz and second by Hachinsky to approve the grant request for a placement of a memorial bench at Magoon Creek Park in honor of Jessica Sharp. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item C is discussion of the American Rescue Plan Act funding, and Shirley, you asked to have that on there, I think.
Nobody's turned in anything. Our first report's gonna be at the end of April, and that will come quick. So, probably better start thinking about how we're going to spend that money.
So, April 1st, do we have to have the total amount committed, or just this first 50%?
That's when we have to make our first report.
Okay.
Chosen and spent to date.
Okay. Because we did have a little bit of discussion at DDA on that tonight, too. And I know this board, we had talked about the possibility of using some of those funds possibly toward our water infrastructure improvements, new well and water main replacement. But if you've got other ideas, turn them into Shirley.
That's good. Can we use it for that?
Yeah, I believe,
We can use it for water. The only thing is that the only water is up here in this area. It's not all township wide. I did mention to something to Jim Escovic about any equipment that we might need, but I haven't heard anything back.
There was talk at one point of possibly putting like having Magoon Creek, a restroom type.
oh yeah,
Sunling.
it's something, yeah, a vault toilet, yeah.
That might be something the building and grounds can look into as far as getting cost on and everything. But that's, we're going to have about $240,000. I don't think that much of it.
Right,
And also, that is the money that if we were planning to give any of the employees anything, overpaid. I don't know what the private sector's got. I'm not in the private sector anymore. So I don't know if that would be something that we'd be wanting to do. Looking into maybe with other companies that give them
On our last building and grounds meeting, we did have some discussion about putting a vault toilet at Sunling, and the one at Magoon, if I remember right, that was put in 20, it's either 12 or 13, and I believe it was
take office.
2012.
It was done just before that.
Well, I think it was placed after that, but it had been purchased.
Land and all that.
Right.
Just before that.
Yep, and if I remember correctly, I want to say it was around 14, 15,000. Is that?
Probably. More than likely it's more than that now.
Yeah, it's going to be more than that now, but, yeah, and we can explore, we can talk about that further at Building and Grounds and get some prices and drawings, so.
Because they evidently don't like the porta potties out there.
Well, there have been some complaints about,
The appearance.
obviously, when you see it right there inside the stone wall gate and everything, it's not all that attractive, and
Especially when it's tipped over.
it was, I don't know if it was the first day after placement or the second day it got tipped over by someone, and that hasn't happened that I'm aware of since, but, yeah, we talked about building and grounds about maybe having it outside the parking area, west of the parking area, but not too far west, fairly near, and then near the south border, so it wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb.
And then there's also, the possibility of leveraging money with some other organization too, going for loan, using that money as a down payment for something, if we had a big ticket item.
Okay, well, any thoughts you have, over the days ahead, pass them on to either Shirley or myself, and we can explore further. Okay, that brings us to public comment. Again, we have no public other than Mike and Barry. You guys don't wish to speak again, so. Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys hear this. Mike Scola, 965 Murky Road. I don't know if you guys hear this, but I'm a fan of the trash cans, that you guys had out there with the new blue ones. They're a lot more spatial than the ones I had purchased myself. They're easy to move, and I don't know if you guys hear that enough, but I'm a big fan. So thank you for making that change for us. I appreciate that, and yeah, that's really all I have.
Good, thank you, Mike.
One other thing. So you guys have passed a motion for a countywide rec thing. Another thing to consider with your ARPA funds is that you could put it as a match towards the funds that might be needed for any park improvements that you're looking to do through the DNR Trust Fund. So another potential is to use your ARPA funds to match that grant opportunity. And so just another thing. Thank you again, and I appreciate all you guys do.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, anything else to come before the board tonight? Shirley, do you have anything?
Yeah, maybe that would be another thing to bring up to building and grounds, and see about a large investment, in the parks or something. Maybe they can see something that we can't. We could go for a loan on it.
Anything else, Shirley? Okay, Tom, you have anything?
I understand that the Silversmith rejected our
Yes.
thing, and are we contacting other people to try and find a similar program? Didn't we say something about maybe Windemure, or was that, no, that was
No,
the
that was for
SCADA.
SCADA, yeah. But I have,
Or Brian Sousa, maybe that was.
yeah, I talked with Brian Sousa about it, and I talked with Scott Conradson, and Scott feels that that's the best one out there that he's familiar with, and he's familiar with, he's serving a lot of municipalities in the northern half of the state for Eagle, and he's the one that mentioned it first to me way back when in an email, and then that's when we kind of started pursuing it. And I did speak with Brian Sousa because someone had mentioned that they either have or may have something similar, and he said they do not. I also asked him about looking at that contract from Silversmith and pick it apart, see if he's got the same kind of issues with it. I'm very frustrated with that whole thing because it would be such an asset to the township, not just for our water system, but there'd be so many uses of it. And I today went through and just for this last batch of invoices, I went through and added up what we had spent in legal fees, picking that contract apart and going back and forth with Silversmith, and they came up with $1,434.59. And we're looking at a 6,000 something price tag on that program. And that really bothers me, you know.
It goes to the third item of it, which is the price of the package with the grief that could cause afterward.
Yeah, and
What are the other ones that we give prices on the other company?
Yeah, but if
I don't know.
they're not as good, why would we even price it? If they're not comparable or...
Why wouldn't they have the same issues?
Exactly.
Well, they
What-
have clear title.
Why
Proprietary
is Pierre
issues.
Marquette Township and he's fine with it, and 5 other lawyers aren't?
Yeah, I don't know. It's,
What part of it don't they like, Tom? Did they spell out what Silversmith didn't like about it?
I think they just, when they got the thing back from, that we had approved, they just rejected it because they didn't want to agree to it, the wording on it, so.
yeah. So right now, yeah, I did email Brian Sousa this morning about that. And I can't recall now something else. I had a question for him. So anyway, I got an automatic reply that he's out of the office until Monday, so I won't have any information before that. But I will keep looking. Larry, you had a question or comment?
Well, I thought it would have came up in I because it had an asterisk down there. But I was asked by the board at the last October 27th meeting on a water complaint of what I did, the process I went through so far. That should have been in your packet tonight.
Yeah, it was on the tables tonight when we got here.
Okay, also at that time, there was a question, I think it came from you, Terry, that is it 30 days or what is the time period? And the time period is 30 days.
Right.
And that's under MCL 126-3606.
And that's calendar days, I was told, not business days.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Right.
Also, it was brought up on, here is about non-conforming use, and I've got a copy of it, but I didn't get it back, I didn't get it till I left it home and I brought it tonight. It explains under Michigan Zoning Enabling Act 110 of 2006, it explains about non-conforming use.
What was it? Act again?
This is on non-conforming use.
Right.
And that's under section 125-3208, non-conforming uses and structures. And that's underneath the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. And it explains what about it. Okay, now, the other thing is that I stated at the time my process was do the complaint, make a decision. If the decision wasn't accepted by either party, they could appeal it, and that's the way it was set up. That's the way it was done. Since then, I've contacted Michigan State, and I contacted Rob Carson at Network Northwest, because he's on top of this stuff. And they said, yes, what you're doing is correct unless it's stated in our ordinance. The Michigan State asked me what our attorney said, and I haven't brought it up to our attorney because he was stated that he was a conflict of interest. So they said he's the only one that can say that he's a conflict of interest or not, and that it should be brought up to him. So I talked to Mr. Wilson today, and he told me that what I did is exactly the process of doing it. And also, the board, on a decision that was brought to the board on having an attorney getting paid for, he said that was totally wrong and it should never happen. And he was not informed of what was going on anyhow, but they told me that at the state, the attorney should know about it, seeing as your township attorney, he should know what's going on.
And the board should not pay an attorney to look at our ordinances.
To make a interpretation of the ordinance, because that is the Board of Appeals. That's one of their jobs to do that. Now, after you go down the road, you can't. I was told by everybody there, including Mr. Wilson, that it looks more like a civil suit than anything else. And that was just talked to him just today on that.
And you know what you're looking at in a civil suit?
I don't know, Terry. I'm only telling you what the process is and what I did, and I was confronted that if I did it right or wrong, because I was told by the attorney that I guess you talked to that this could be done another way. Well, it can't be unless it's in our ordinance. It can be done that way. In our ordinance, the way Wilson says is exactly what I did, the process what I did, that's what the process is. The process is you do the complaint, come up with a decision. If either party disagrees with that decision, they have the right to go for an appeal, which I gave a copy of the appeal. And if you don't agree with their decision, you can go to circuit court, and it goes on and on and on.
And I would like to see where it's written in our ordinance that way.
He said it's in our ordinance that way. I don't know if it's written or not, but he said that's.
Well, if it's in our ordinance, it's got to be written.
I'm going by what, yeah, he says it's in there, but it's attorney writing, you know, how they write stuff in there.
But didn't you just say that it goes to the Board of Appeals unless it's written in the ordinance
Yes,
otherwise?
otherwise is right.
So it's
Yeah.
not written in the ordinance because the interpretations here have always been done by CBA.
Richard Wilson told me today that it's in our ordinance, so if it's there, he must know, but I don't know, I can't find it.
Okay, Larry, our problem is Richard wrote the ordinances, and then his name is on papers with Tandu, so there's a conflict of interest if he's representing Tandu and writing our ordinance. I feel that the expiration time that you're talking about going to the Board of Appeals has happened at 5 o'clock today. My feelings right now, and I've got some, this is when Tandu wanted to put the gas plant in. And this was given to the Planning Commission. I think Shirley probably remembers that, the drawing. This in green is a buffer zone that was recommended to them if they were to use that property.
Okay, I'll answer your question. You might as well take that and throw it away because it didn't happen. If it would have happened, yes, it was a special use and they put their, what had to be done and where and everything else. It has nothing to do with that.
This is
Right
not
now,
being used.
excuse me, right now, what the complaint is the complaint that the Walkers put in their first complaint is what goes to the Board of Appeals.
We're not talking about the Walkers anymore because the Walkers' time expired.
This has nothing to do with that. And he said.
This sure does. If in fact, whatever date this is on here, if there was a buffer zone to be put in there, and that was done through the Planning Commission, we should have, it's in our ordinance.
The only thing you're missing is the plan. It never went through. It was a special use
understand that.
and it's out. Why would you have a buffer zone for nothing?
Because now, as I noticed in the last couple of days, the piles are getting higher, and after the meeting we had last time, they put bark into it now. It's not just chips, it had bark in it.
So what I explained before is what we're on right now, and this is how things go on forever. What we're on right now is what the Walkers put in as their complaint.
That's expired. The timeline is expired as of 5 o'clock today.
I was told at the meeting the other night, Terry said, I will do it. He said, I still got time to do it? I said, yes.
Well,
And I thought, that's just to get the ball rolling. Hadn't it?
Yes, you
By
can't
that
make
point.
a decision on that.
So
You
the
just-
way I understood it, it's going under appeal.
Yes, and I gave him the packet, I said, yeah, I consider right now as you doing that, I said that, and I put the packet in there, that right now, it takes time to get the packet and everything else. I gotta set up the appeal board meeting, I gotta go, I
So it's
can't.
in the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going to that.
Well, and the bottom line, Larry, is whether or not we as a board want to see that our ordinances are being enforced correctly, properly. Now, I've already got money wrapped up in attorney fees, in dealing with the municipal attorney in Lansing. And it would have been another $350 to go through the ZBA. And when it comes to interpreting or enforcing the proper interpretation, the correct interpretation of our ordinances, when a party is involved, an industry is involved, that has been represented by our own township attorney, and who is also the agent of record for their real estate company in Filer City, I would have a hard time, I guess, believing that there might not be some influence the other way.
Okay, today I did not ask him about I asked him today, what is our procedure in doing this? And as our attorney, he has the right to tell me if I'm right or wrong on that procedure, and that's all I asked him. He said, if it goes to not being the attorney, he says, I wouldn't do it anyhow, because I'm a conflict of interest.
Well, but you just said,
You just said
that he should interpret the ordinance. He's our township attorney and he should interpret those
No, I
ordinances.
said that the Board of Appeals interprets the ordinance.
Yeah.
That's what I said to him.
He said Networks Northwest told him to go to the township attorney, and the township attorney
And the state.
and tell us whether or not he had a conflict. And he did tell you today he had a conflict.
Yes.
Okay.
And the other thing is, Terry, is that, what you just said, and you're absolutely correct. The board has the right to have the ordinance interpreted. So what your process in that is you take it to planning. Planning reviews it, comes up with a decision, just like they do anything else, and they submit it to the board. That's how that's done.
Okay, tell me that part
And
again.
tell me which one of the planners has a law degree that can interpret our ordinances.
Well, at that time, planning has the right to research it.
And how are they going to research it?
Well, it's their job.
And how are they going to
If
research
they have to
it?
get into it and find out from somebody else, they can do it. I mean, that's planning job, same as coming up with an ordinance. How do they do that?
So let me ask you this, because this is a new one on me. So instead of going to the ZBA, you would take this issue to the planners?
No, stop there. I just answered the question that he said, that why can't the board should be able to make a decision on hiring somebody. I'm just telling him the process that prior to any of this, say he didn't put in a complaint or anything, he said, we gotta find out what the process is to understand our ordinance. Then you go to your planning and let them review the ordinance, and then that's what the process is. The planning does theirs, what planning does, and then comes through with your answer and submits it to the board. If you're not satisfied, you go back and forth, the same as any ordinance.
And ultimately, this board has the authority to hire an attorney to get interpretation of our ordinances.
I disagree with that.
No.
Well,
I disagree. That's what You're
No,
saying.
this board
some-
has that authority.
You're saying some attorney towards it. I say the board has the authority after it goes through the process, the correct process, but the board does not have authority to come in on a complaint and say, I want somebody to go out and hire her and tell me the process, you know?
Well, this board hired an attorney to do the gas plant project, the gas turbine project for TES.
That was
Sure.
a tax appeal.
No, not the tax appeal. That project
No, that
that
was
Tom
through the
just showed.
special use, Terry. That was a special use that we went through and we do just like we do all special uses. But the special use didn't go through, they didn't get their plan. So anything done on that special use is history. It
The
hasn't got anything to do with
special
it.
use was granted. They didn't do the project because they couldn't get their FERC permits.
Right, so it's done,
Right.
it's gone.
And a
That doesn't mean
A
you're.
separate attorney outside this area is who represented the board in that process.
Yes,
Yeah.
but that special use has nothing to do with anything right now, nothing. Even though.
They went to a different use when they started the chips, because it was a storage for the boiler. So they should have came and got a special use to put the chips there.
And the ordinance says they have 60 days to apply for a special use
Yes,
permit
it does.
when there's new activity.
And I agree with that, it says that, and I brought that up to you. But after I got into it, I told you at that first meeting that you had two problems. One was a non-conforming use, and the other one was, I hope I say it right, laxist, or whatever they call it, that nothing was ever done for the past 10 years, and all of a sudden it's done now. That is a problem, but I told you that at the beginning.
Because that's a new activity. Why would you do anything about it if it wasn't there?
And after I went through everything, I got both sides of the story, I came up with my decision.
After meeting with Jim
You
Tondu and their attorney.
No, you get pushed again.
That's when you changed your position.
No, you're wrong.
Yes.
I told you in the beginning.
Going into that meeting, you told us that we had a case. In fact,
I said
there were
you
some
did.
other things that could be thrown in.
I said, yes, you do have a case, but there are other things, just like you said. But the thing it is, Terry, is that's the process. That is the process. I give both sides. I make a decision. If it's not what people want, you have to appeal it. It's nothing to interpret the ordinance. That's what happens when you get into the appeals. They
But-
don't interpret an ordinance. And it says in our ordinance that they are there to interpret the ordinance.
Well, you met with their attorney and their representative, and you heard their side, and the whole picture changed.
No,
And
I heard
speaking
both
of
sides.
pictures, I would like to see some originals, the pictures that that Mr. Wendling included in his packet.
I didn't
Those
wanna
are
go-
copies.
I didn't want to go through the process.
Those are copies,
I'll
and
turn those in right now.
I'd like to
get a
see
copy.
originals.
I'll turn them in right now. I'd like to get a copy of them, because if you want to make copies, I didn't, because this is going to take a lot of copies. I've got all the documentation and everything, and I'll turn it into them. It's all their exhibits and everything else. And it shows that them parcels were used for storage, and that's what they're doing, they're storing chips in it. And they are.
For
they are a
storage of what?
They are a multi-purpose cogeneration plant, or multi-fuel cogeneration.
Yep.
And they can burn tires, they can burn wood, they can burn gas, they can do all that.
I know that. And that lot, that parcel, Lot C, was used for the storage of wood bolts for PCA
Paper.
and for waste paper for a short period of time. And it has never been used for wood chip storage, and we've lived there since prior to the construction of that plant. And the letters of support that he gave you were either from employees or the previous township supervisor.
No, there's one other, Zolzak or something. But.
No,
I
that's,
agree with you.
he's an employee. That's Bufka.
I agree with you. That, you know, it's been used for all the things you said, but it wasn't temporary. My God, it goes back to 1958 to get
Right.
pictures.
And it was not constant, I forget the terminology in the ordinance, but it was for shipping and receiving. Things would be brought in, dropped off, they sit. They'd be hauled out, they sit.
What are they doing with the chips? They're bringing them in, setting them down, all in one burn them.
Constant, 24/7.
That's not storage then.
4:30 this morning, Larry, 4:30 this morning, I heard the front end loader's bucket pounding on the ground to clean his bucket up.
Terry, you got every reason in the world to complain about it. You got every reason in the world to sit there and put in a complaint, and you did, but you have to follow the process. You're no different than anybody else. Nobody. I mean, you gotta follow the procedure. You can't right in the middle of the procedure say, well, I'm gonna do this. You can't do that, Terry.
Well, I was told that you could do that, and that was by a municipal attorney who represents MTA, does a lot of municipal work for MTA.
Tell you what, if I'm an attorney, I'm gonna tell you I can help you out too until I lose, and I'm gonna say, oh, I'm sorry, I lost. You know, ain't no skin off him. It doesn't matter what he says. Our process is this process. Just because you call up an attorney and he said, oh no, we have to follow our process.
Again, I'd like to see that in the ordinance then.
Well, you got every right to call Mr. Wilson as I do. And I'll get it if he's got it. And I'm not here to argue.
All right,
All I'm telling you is there's a process to follow. And that's what it is.
Did you file the appeal?
No, I did not. No.
Are you going to file? Because you said you were going to. If you're not, then I'll just say the appeal wasn't filed.
Well,
I mean, you got time. I told you you had time.
well, I thought that expired at 5 o'clock today.
You said the other day at the meeting that if you still had time, and I said, yes, you do, and you said, okay.
How much time? I was under the understanding it was 30 days, which is November 4th. This is November
Terry, but
4th.
that's to put in your appeal. That doesn't say you have to have it done by now. It's impossible to have an appeal
No, but
done in
he
that
hasn't
time.
filed the appeal yet, so he's got till through November 4th. And to me, that's 11:59 p.m. You can find
But
zoning administrator.
surely he told me he was going to file it the other night. That's why I put the thing in the
I
packet.
understand, I'm just telling him.
Right, and I had a letter written up, and Shirley dated it, accepted it, and then I was told, you know, I have to have a special form to fill out for it, and then it was, after that, I found it in my mailbox.
Yeah,
And-
you got it in the next day in the mailbox.
Yeah,
Because you said you were going to do it, that's why I put it there.
so that expires,
No, it isn't expired, Jerry. It was all done before that.
when does it expire? When does my time to
Well,
file
if
an
you
appeal
gotta have
to take it to
done
the
at
ZBA?
the time, I don't know exactly if there's a date, how long you gotta have before you, you know, you gotta look into what you wanna put down there and you reference it, everything else, you got time on it.
And then when I go to the ZBA, 3 members of the ZBA are gonna make a decision on that based on
The information that they get, which would be all that.
that they get from
Us.
TES and Wendland.
No. I suppose you haven't said a thing, and I haven't wrote down what you said.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're the second party, Terry.
yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, you're the second party. I gotta take both, and that's what I did. And then I researched it, and I got with the state of Michigan on that.
And I researched it.
Huh?
And I researched it.
And I did too, but the thing of it is, you got every bit to take that to the Board of Appeals and show it to research and what you got. But that's the only thing that you can do on it. You gotta follow the process, just like everybody else in this township has to follow.
Okay.
I think that we could hire a lawyer by the township, and no individual, by our township, and let them look at our regulations for this type of deal, and give us an unbiased report. And I'll make that a motion. That
I
we
don't know
hire,
what you mean.
we hire an attorney to give us a interpretation of our ordinances on this particular case.
Make that, yeah.
It's open for discussion.
Not yet.
I'll second that one. I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Hichinsky, second by Brian Cruz to hire an attorney to interpret the ordinance that applies to this particular situation.
Wouldn't
Is
it be
that
reviewed
correct?
rather than
To review
interpret?
the language, yeah.
Well, I would say review instead of, because interpret sounds like that's a ZBA thing.
Well, review and
So you're
provide,
having them review
provide
what?
explanation.
The ordinance pertaining to this
Which
land
ordinance
use
are we
situation.
talking about?
The ordinance, get it out here, on that sheet.
So the chips and all this.
Yeah, well, if we're.
Well, you don't have, Shirley, you don't have an ordinance on chips. You have an ordinance on a non-conforming use. So that's one of the.
There is no ordinance on just non-conforming use.
You have a non-conforming use.
What is the ordinance number?
I'd have to, I think it's the first packet I gave. You have an ordinance on that, and you also have to follow the procedure, which I will get with Mr. Wilson.
Well, but this motion is just to hire an attorney to review the ordinance on non-conforming use, and I want to know what that ordinance number is.
Well, according to this, section 31.67.6704,
That's-
regulations and standards, requirements applicable to all parcels of Lakefront Industrial District. Subsection H, which deals with the buffer zone.
I understand it, still go through the process of the appeal, but why can't we hire a lawyer besides Wilson to interpret his own ordinance? That an independent lawyer review our ordinance.
Usually what'll happen on that is the appeal board will make a decision, and then you have something to appeal, their decision. So if they come up and say, yes, it's a non-conforming use and everything else, then the board, if they want to try to go through and say, hey, look, the Board of Appeals made their decision, which is the process. We'd like to get somebody else to look at it. You'd probably do that right in the Board of Appeals meeting, if it was fine with them. They'd probably agree to it too. That's part of your appeal system.
Okay, anything else?
Why, yeah, I submitted another letter today that explained what I did and why, and I would like to have that in the minutes or whatever with the documentation that we got already, so. And I will get this, I'll give these to Tammy and have,
That's your letter dated 11/4.
I'll give these to Tammy and have her make copies for everybody.
Okay. Okay,
Wait, I need more. Gotta write something here. Subsection what?
Well, G, operating conditions, and H, where's that H deals with, yeah, subsection G and H.
So it's, section, our zoning ordinance is section 31, so it's section 31.6704, regulations and standards, subsection G and H. You want
Yes, I
an attorney to
believe
review
so.
that? That's what it is.
I wish I had my own notes, but I don't.
Surely it's also on the non-conforming section of our ordinance. We have a whole non-conforming section.
that non-conforming section of section 31?
Yes, yes.
Okay, you got it, Shirley?
Okay, so
And-
to hire an attorney to review the zoning ordinance regarding non-conforming uses, section 31.6704, regulations and standards subsections G and H, as well as the non-conforming section of chapter 31. Right?
I think you got it. Okay, any other discussion to come before the board? Okay, Shirley, do you want to do a roll call?
Okay, Kaczynski,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Wall, yes, Stady,
No.
You know, and I just happen to think I probably should have recused myself from that vote.
Well, you're just asking somebody to review a part of your zoning.
Right, right. Well, that's true, and as it applies to health, safety, and welfare of all of our residents, not just Jane and Terry. Okay,
Can I say one last thing? Ask one
Yes,
thing. Are you
yes.
going to go with your appeal or not?
I'll have to go home and get it and
Yeah, if you're going to go with it.
fill it out.
Yeah, if you are, because this has nothing to do with our process. This is something you guys do.
Right. And I do have some questions on that form.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Then you come and ask, and we get it filled out. Once we get the form completed, then I go to the Board of Appeals and get a date. So that's,
Okay.
So
that's your,
tomorrow, shall I give MTA a call and see who they think might be somebody that could do that?
You could get some recommendations. I got recommendations from the first attorneys I called in Kalamazoo, and then, like I said, I've had 2 consultations with Fahey, Schultz, and Bursich, Bill Fahey.
I don't think we should be hiring any attorney that he's already talked to.
Well, I'm going to call MTA and I'll talk with Catherine there and tell her the situation. And see what we might ask to do this.
And
We're not
no-
spending any money at this point.
Yeah, the ones from Kalamazoo, I know I think one of their recommendations was somebody from Cadillac. And I think there was one from Traverse City, I don't remember.
We'll go on what they say and we'll come back with a couple of,
Okay. Where was I?
We were just
Tom,
going around.
I went past you, right? Brian?
Brian.
Tom, anything else?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. Did they ever treat the invasive species along by Campbell Lake?
I spoke with Jeff Dantz about that recently, and he thought they did. I did not get a hold of Fields Ratliff to confirm that, but Jeff was pretty sure that they had treated it. And I know, well, that came up at the road commission meeting. I think when you were in attendance, were you there when Fields Ratliff was at the road commission meeting and they talked about?
I don't think I was there that
Okay.
particular month. I go
Okay,
next
yes.
week, Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
It's the next meeting I go.
I know it came up, he was at the road commission meeting to let them know what the treatment involved, and I had given them all the parcel numbers and property owners in that area, so. But I can check with Fields Ratliff, get more
And one-
information about it.
And one other thing, if these people are asking for to reserve Magoon Creek. We really can't keep other people out on that particular time. We could maybe allow them to use the pavilion
Yeah.
and reserve that.
We tell them that. It's a public park.
I told her that I would suggest that she get out there first thing in the morning and put some signs up that they're gonna have a wedding, and that's what people have done in the past, and people are pretty good about honoring that. And I said, now we have really two nice locations. You know, the overlook, our trust fund project, would be a nice setting for a wedding, as well as the pavilion or anywhere along the bluff. I know some of the weddings have occurred just right along the split rail fence along the bluff.
So is it just, we've got to find out if it's just the ceremonies. If it's just the ceremonies, they'll be in there and out of there within an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah,
Well, because then my other concern would be outhouses. Should we require them to have some outhouses if it's going to be any length of time, other than the one we have? Just temporary for the day or for whatever.
yeah, I think that vault toilet that we have there is good enough, Tom.
I understand that, but that's one, and we don't know how many people are going to be
We
there.
Well,
have another one
like-
by Sunling Park, so
And this gal said that it was gonna be a small wedding.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just-
Most of them that have taken place out there parties have been pretty small. Is that it?
Getting that from the city. The city now is
Right, I
getting
saw
them,
that.
taking reservations
Yeah.
for like Lions Park and stuff.
Yeah.
Lions Pavilion.
I don't know, I just, you know, unless we had more staff to deal with it,
Yeah.
and I think it opens some other cans of worms. I just had a couple things I wanted to bring up tonight. Update on the leak over the water room. Freeland was here last week. Was that Friday, Shirley?
yes.
Yeah. They came in the afternoon, and I had the guy actually get up and look in that attic area. And right away, he identified what I had thought was a problem at the peak, where there's a column that comes up, and it looked like that was almost totally rotted out in places. And he said, yep, that's what he saw when he put the light on it. And he said you could see the water stain coming right down that rafter, all the way down to that corner over the water equipment. So he got up there, and they wrapped it with the membrane, completely wrapped it, and then used solar seal to seal that all off good. So he said no water's going to get in there. And then they also, the other guy, while he was doing that, the other guy got up and cleaned out the J channel. That, you know, was probably plugged up a little bit. And while he did that, he said he did check under the siding to make sure it was flashed, and he said it was. So hopefully, you know, this is just a Band-Aid. We still got to get the roof repaired, but at this time of year, to get a new roof put on or a section of a roof done, you know, I don't know if we're going to be able to get anybody. Roofers are backed up, plus it's not the best time of year to look to put a roof on and get a good seal on shingles and everything. So my thought is that January, February, somewhere in there, we need to, maybe January, get an RFP out for an inspection and potential repairs to that roof. So, update on that. Also, the panel, the water panel that you approved an up to amount at our last meeting, that was up to $10,000, and the figures that I had been given for the panel itself, the installation and the software was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,000 to $10,000, and Mike hasn't gotten the figures on that yet, but I talked to him today, and he said, talking with the group from Gaylord that did the bulk of that work, and then Andy Prine doing the electrical part, he said he thought it was going to come in well under that.
Good.
So that was good news. And I guess the other thing I wanted to mention, I already have, so that's all I have.
I had one more, I forgot. In talking with Mike Hiller today, he said he's pretty sure that they've found his replacement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got an email this morning from Josh Hall with Operations Services, and they have a guy out of, he's the Detroit area, and
He told me, I can't remember exactly where.
it's a township down in that area, and I can't remember the name of the township.
No, he thinks I said
Well, the guy has been coming to this area for a number of years to hunt and fish. He loves to hunt and fish, and he's got a buddy that he can stay with out on Pine Creek Road until he finds a house, but he would need, he said 2 to 3 weeks to wrap things up down there. So in Josh's email, he said it looks like it's going to be the end of the month before he's here to take over. I want to say he's been their water operator for 7 years, but he doesn't have the licenses that Mike has. So he would have to go through some training with Mike, and then he would be taking classes to get.
He needs another level, I think.
Yes.
Is it a G3?
D3, S3, I think it is. Yeah, he's got a 4 right now, and Mike's got the 4, 3, and 2. And, you know, we can work with somebody that's got up to a 3, or, up to a 3. It'd be nice to get somebody with a 2, but
he'll just have to get it eventually.
they're few and far behind
And I think
between.
our system goes on a 3. I don't think it's a 2, is it?
My understanding is it can be operated,
3.
yeah. It's just that, you know, Mike had the higher level because he'd been in the water department in the city for 30 years, so. Yeah, I'll find out more. I want to inquire about background checks and all that.
Why do we have to wait till January for our RFP on the roof? Why not December?
Well, we can do it whenever, yeah. And probably the sooner the better, you know, before guys get their calendars filled, so. Maybe put that in the minutes, Shirley, that for December, if you want to bring it up, Brian, in December, and we can.
Yes. Right, need a motion on that?
Yeah.
Make a motion.
Well, no, in the December meeting, why
Or
don't
the
you,
December
We'll
meeting.
just add to the agenda. So
Yeah.
the what, the polls?
to put an RFP out, yeah, for the roof. Okay, that's all I had. Would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Steggy, second by Brian Cruz to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion adjourned.